Ted Williams, criminal defense attorney, former homicide detective, and Fox News contributor. Ted, it's always good to get your thoughts after the facts have been spit out. On blush, what's your first reaction?
Wow, Harris, this is an interesting turn of events, and I must say it is very surprising. What I have gleaned from this is that Chicago the police department may have very well gotten out in front of their skis here, because the issues were all centered around two Nigerian brothers who believed that they were part of this attack on Smollett. And what had happened, and for your viewers to know, that once Smollett was attacked, went to the hospital with this noose around his neck and had this said that there were two white guys, and they said, "Make America Great Again." And as a part of this attack, the two Nigerian brothers had gone out of the country. They came back into the country. They were separated by police at the airport. They were interrogated, and they said that they were part of a scheme to attack Smollett, and that Smollett had given them a check for $3,500. And on the check, though, it said that it was for exercising as a trainer. But what is significant in this is that there is a credibility determination on the brothers and insufficient evidence. And I can tell you, as a lawyer, if I was trying this case, it is no doubt about it that those two brothers would have been placed and put under a microscope, because there was no evidence whatsoever that they were not involved in it. As a matter of fact, there was video camera tape to show that the two brothers, in fact, had bought rope and that they had been a part of this process. But I don't want to say, and I don't believe Smollett is out of the woods right now, Harris.
Why do you say that? Would that have anything to do with that letter that he wrote? I know our reporter, Matt Finn, when I asked him just a few minutes ago what's going on with potential federal charges, he had already reached out to the FBI. And I mean, it's pretty customary that they say that they would have no comment. But in this particular instance, it would be a federal offense, correct? If he, in fact, wrote a threatening letter to himself. And this is live, by the way. These are pictures just outside where Jussie Smollett and his representation had been talking. If there's audio here, my team will tell me and we'll dip in. Ted?
Well, Harris, you're on to it. You're absolutely on to it. Now, let me say this. The federal authorities, they have the letter. They have the writing from that letter. They sent all of that down to their lab in Quantico, Virginia. Now, this is the key. If they find, a lot of folks, when they're sending an envelope off, they will lick the envelope. If that is the case, and they find Justice Smollett's DNA on that envelope from that standpoint, meaning for his saliva or DNA, that could really be something that could bring this back
Interesting.
Smollett, and he could very well be charged federal.
All right, Ted, I want to reference these pictures again. The team tells me that there's not anything particularly audible here, but this is Jussie Smollett as he makes himself, or as he walks through the scrum of reporters. You see the cameras there as he's getting into the car. Moments ago, he said he's been telling the truth the entire time. His representation said that all charges have been dropped. And what Ted Williams and I are discussing are, will there be other charges having to do with a threatening letter that he sent himself, a death letter, which would be a crime at a federal level if, in fact, that was not truthful material and that he had pulled it off in some way himself. But the charges against him that had to do with two men attacking him and all of the details that went along with that. I know, Melissa, you were talking before about the MAGA statements and all of that Jussie Smollett purported to have happened. All of those charges have been dropped as any sort of a hoax, and you see the car pull away.
Ted, I would ask you, because I know that you were listening along when his attorney was speaking at the microphone there before he took to the mic. She skipped a question when the reporters there asked her about the brothers' involvement and what she sort of made of that at this point. She said a couple of different times, I have no idea what happened. She kept saying that. She said that he was a very sweet guy before he came up to the microphone. And then when he took to the microphone, he said, I have been truthful and consistent on every level from day one. Do all these things go together, or what's your take on the tone there?
Well, I think when you look at the two brothers, their credibility was always going to be an issue in this case. And I don't think that the defense attorney wants to rile those two brothers because, and so I believe that she did not want to attack them at this time or at this stage in the so-called litigation. But as you all have said, and as Harris just said, look, the charges here as it pertains to these two brothers and what had happened in Chicago with Smollett is going away. But, again, without being overly redundant, what I'm concerned about now is the federal investigation that will, in fact, continue as it pertains to whether he sent himself this racial epithet-loaded envelope, and that's going to be there. But I can tell you, in taking my lawyer's hat off and putting my detective hat on, while the Chicago Police Department, I believe, has a black eye, you have to look at the facts. It is below 42 degrees. Justice Smollett, on the night of this incident, was supposed to have gone to some Subway for a sandwich. Coming back across the street, someone says to him, "Empire, Empire." He turns around, and at this time, they hit him in the face and said, "Make America great again." And Justice Smollett, represented that these were two white guys that did this to him. Looking at that from a circumstantial evidence standpoint, it is questionable. Who in the hell is going to be out in Chicago in minus 42 degrees weather waiting for Justice Smollett? So while he has been cleared by the police department, it will probably be that this investigation will continue even in Chicago. But
all right,
there, at this stage, I believe is just clearly insufficient evidence for them to go forward with.
Ted, before we go back to our reporter who's standing by on the scene, just one quick question. There's been mention of the $10,000 bond. You both, attorney and somebody on both sides of all of this, you've worked in law enforcement too. Just real quickly, what happens to that money and why wouldn't it be returned?
Well, it goes to the state. To the city, I stand to be corrected. Justice Smollett could fight over this, but Justice Smollett is happy to get the hell out of the police department and out of the criminal justice system of Chicago. So he's willing to forfeit that and move on with his life.
Got it. Ted Williams, always great to have you along to help us decipher breaking news, legal and otherwise. Thank you very much.